Sentenced to death, the two British men caught by Russian forces while fighting in Ukraine. The Foreign Secretary has condemned their punishment, calling the pro-Russian court a sham. We'll have the very latest also tonight.
ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. The UK government has tonight condemned the death sentence given to two British men who were captured whilst fighting for the Ukraine army. Aidan Aslin and Sean Pinner were given the sentence by pro-Russian officials in what the UK has branded a sham and a Soviet-era show trial. A Moroccan national was also given a death sentence. They were all accused of terrorism, but the UK Foreign Secretary says they are prisoners of war and the court has no legitimacy. From Ukraine, our Europe editor James Mate sends this report. Well, James is in Kyiv tonight. And James, is this a genuine death sentence, or are the men more likely to be used, as you said, as bargaining chips? All right, James in Kyiv, thank you. Well, here, the spiralling impact of the war in Ukraine has seen fuel prices reach new record highs. For the first time, the cost of filling up the typical family car is now averaging above £100. It's also adding huge costs to hauliers. And there are concerns this will push inflation up even higher. Our Midlands correspondent Ben Chapman reports. Well, three more train operators are to join strikes later this month, causing more misery for passengers. Members. The age at which people can buy cigarettes in England should rise every year until no one can buy them. Smoking should also be banned outside pubs, on beaches and other outdoor places. That's some of the urgent recommendations in a government-backed report outlining how England can be made smoke-free by 2030. Here's our health editor, Emily Morgan. Paris's police chief has apologised for the tear-gassing of fans in the run-up to the Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid last month. But he made... Brexit has cost the UK economy billions of pounds in lost trade and tax revenues. That's according to research shared with ITV News by the respected think tank, the Centre for European Reform. It estimates the economy is 5% smaller than it would have been if the UK had stayed in the EU. It also found trade in goods and investment were 13% lower, but services were 7% higher than if Brexit hadn't happened. From Devon, our business editor Joel Hills sent this special report. There's plenty more to come on the ITV Evening News, including those hearings start later tonight. We will, of course, be following it over the coming days. We'll see you after the break for that and much more. Welcome back. Boris Johnson tried to take the pressure off his leadership today by unveiling an extension to the right to buy scheme. He said ministers are working to extend the reform started by Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s to those living in housing association homes. But critics say it will actually make the appalling lack of social housing even worse. From Blackpool, our political correspondent Daniel Hewitt reports. Our political editor, Robert Peston, joins me now. And Robert, Boris Johnson's big housing announcement, part of this relaunch of his government, indeed his leadership. I mean, did he succeed in that today, do you think?
So that is the question of the moment. As leader rather than him, he narrowly persuaded a majority of his MPs to help to people on lowest incomes. There was also quite a lot of what people will think of as being bad news. He confirmed he will achieve, because what his MPs want is a sense that he's truly a Conservative.
Robert, thank you. Two people are missing after a boat capsized on a lake in Devon. Another person remains in a critical condition in hospital following the incident yesterday afternoon. Sam Blackledge, a man who stabbed his neighbour 27 times on their front lawn after years of abusive behaviour, has been jailed for life with a minimum of 38 years. The Fire Brigades Union says it doubts whether the inquiry into the Grenfell Tower disaster will lead to any significant change. It is also critical of the government for abandoning a key recommendation from the first phase of the inquiry that called for a legal obligation on building owners to outline personal emergency evacuation plans for residents if there is a fire. That could have helped save lives in Grenfell, especially of disabled people. Sejal Carrier reports. You're watching the ITV Evening News. Here's what's still ahead on the programme. First, the role President Donald Trump played in the uprising on Capitol Hill will be revealed on primetime TV tonight in America. The Congressional Committee investigating the attack in January last year is holding the first public hearing to present its findings. They have promised they will be revealing a lot of new material and evidence. Much of the focus will be on far-right groups and how they managed to force their way into the building. Ahead of the hearings, our correspondent Robert Moore went to the southern US state of Georgia to see the hatred that is still dividing America. Let's get an update on what is making the news tonight. Next tonight, Brazilian footballing legend Pelé has added his voice to calls to step up the search for a missing British journalist. Dom Phillips vanished in a remote part of the Amazon rainforest 3 days ago, along with a Brazilian expert on the country's indigenous population. The journalist's family are urging authorities in Brazil to step up their hunt for the pair. Our correspondent Rachel Younger has the latest. The PGA Tour has suspended all its members who are playing in the controversial Saudi-backed LIV golf tournament in Hertfordshire. The event is the most lucrative in the history of the sport, with a £20 million prize fund. Well, six-time major winner Phil Mickelson is one of the big stars affected. Neil Connery is at the Centurion Club. Well, Sue Barker will step down as the BBC's Wimbledon presenter at the end of this year's tournament after 30 years in the role. Actor Damian Lewis has paid tribute to his late wife Helen McCrory, saying she was a fabulous human being. The 52-year-old Peaky Blinders star died last year from breast cancer. Speaking to ITV, her husband said her spirit will be with him when he plays in Soccer Aid, which raises money for UNICEF. Hamish Alskery reports. Prince William has been spotted selling The Big Issue in central London. Prince William's son Louis made headlines around the world with his scene-stealing expressions in the royal box during the Platinum Jubilee, and now one possible reason for his antics has been revealed. Mike Tyndall, husband to Zara Phillips, has given a behind-the-scenes account of what may have been the cause. Rebecca Barry has more. And from one former sportsman to a young boy with big sporting ambitions. Join me and Alex for all of that after this short break. Again, welcome back. Now, this summer, many annual events that were forced to be cancelled by the pandemic are bouncing back in style, and Alex is at one of those tonight, which is staging its first show in 3 years. So, Alex, tell us more. Where are you? And finally, tonight, 11-year-old Harry Gibson has always wanted to play football for England. Well, last year, though, a car crash forced him to have a foot amputated, and he feared his dream would never come true. But thanks to the inspiring work of an amputee charity, he's about to represent his country at a training camp in Georgia. Ellie Pitt has his story. Oh, Harry, inspiring so many others, no doubt. That is it. Julie will be here with news at 10, but from me and all the team, bye-bye.